بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Dear students of Organizational Behavior course, today inshallah we will start with the second chapter of this course, attitudes. The first part of this chapter we are going to talk about attitudes, and the second part of this chapter it is covered job satisfaction. Okay, and as we said before, that attitudes is a part of an individual dynamics of organizational behavior, and of course there are many other factors related to individual behavior, such as learning, personality, perception, abilities. Okay, and before we are starting to define attitudes, we wanted to know what are the main learning objectives of this chapter. Okay, so after studying this chapter, students should be able to contrast the three components of attitudes, and also to summarize the relationship between attitudes and behavior, compare the measure job attitudes, identify the two approaches for measuring job satisfaction, also to summarize the main causes of job satisfaction, and to identify three outcomes of job satisfaction, and finally to identify 4 employee responses to job satisfaction. So let's start to define the attitudes. Okay, attitudes, it is an evaluative statements or judgment, or it is favorable or unfavorable statements or judgment toward objects, people, or events, or a situation. Okay, so it is reflects how we feel about something. For example, if we said that I like this person or I dislike this person, it means that your attitude toward this person is negative or positive. Okay, so you are expressing your attitude toward this person. Okay, so when we talked about attitudes, we are going to decide about things, whether it is positive to cope with or negative to be avoided. Okay, after that we wanted to know what are the main components of attitudes. Attitudes have 3 main components. The first one is a cognition component, and affective component, and the last one is the behavioral component. Okay, so what do we mean by cognition, or the cognitive component of attitudes? It means how we perceive, or what is our idea or thought, or our perceptions about something, or about the people, or about object. So cognitive will form our opinion about things or people or whatever. Okay, so we can define the cognitive component. It is the opinion or belief segment of an attitude. Okay, so after we form the idea, or we form our opinion about things or about the people, we present our feelings or emotions about those things or about those people, to like or to dislike. So which is referred to the second part of attitude. It is the affective component. So what is affective component? It is emotional or feeling segment of an attitude. Okay, after we are feeling or represents our feeling to like or dislike for something or about someone, we decide what to do, or we decide how to react, or how to behave with this people, with these things, with the situations, which is called the behavioral component. Okay, so the behavioral component, it is the intention to behave in a certain way toward someone or something. Okay, so the components of attitudes, the first one, the cognitive, it means we evaluate things or people. After that we form our feeling. After that, or finally, we decide how to act according to this person or situations. And here we have an example given in your student book about the components of attitudes. The first one is the cognition or the evaluation. My supervisor gave a promotion to a co-worker who deserved it less than I do. My supervisor is unfair, so here I form an idea or a perception that this supervisor is unfair. Okay, after that I will present my feelings for this person or for this supervisor. I dislike my supervisor. Okay, and after that I'm looking for another job. So after my feeling is formed, I wanted to make a reaction or to act or to behave according to that. I'm looking for other job. I have complained about my supervisor to anyone who would listen. In organizations, attitudes are important for their behavioral components. So the most important component for any organizations for attitudes is the behavioral component. If workers believe, for example, that managers, auditors, engineers are in conspiracy to make employees work harder for less money, we should try to understand how this attitude form, which referred to a cognitive component, and how it impacts job behavior, which is referred to a behavioral component, and how it might be changed or modified. Okay. Attitudes and behavior. Okay. Early research on attitudes assumed that there are a relationship between the attitudes and behavior. So attitudes assumed they were causally related to behavior. Okay. And other argued that attitudes follow behavior, and other researchers have agreed that attitudes will predict future behavior. Okay. One of the main problems faced our attitudes is cognitive dissonance. Okay. What do we mean by a cognitive dissonance? It is contradictions individuals might perceive between their attitudes or between their attitudes and behavior. Okay, so usually anybody, or we have always a group of attitudes, not just one attitude. Okay, so sometimes those attitudes are mixed or contradictory with each other. When there is an incompatibility or a contradictory among these attitudes or between behavior and attitudes, this will lead to something called a cognitive dissonance. Okay, so people find it difficult to respond in a certain way, or to respond in a way which is not match his or her belief. Okay, for this point, we wanted to ask a question: does the behavior always follow from attitudes? Of course, no. Why? Because the attitudes is not the only factor which influence our behavior. There are many individual dynamics which affect our behavior, such as personality, values, our capabilities, abilities, and so on. So again, when there are some contradictory in or among the attitudes, in some cases, this will make us to behave in a certain way, not according to our attitudes. Okay, cognitive dissonance, it means again it is inconsistency, attitude and behavioral relationship, which will lead us to feel uncomfortable or uncomfortability. So we have to deal with this situation or to reduce this dissonance. Okay, so this is the definition of cognitive dissonance. It is an incompatibility between two or more attitudes, or between the behavior and attitudes. People always seek consistency among their attitudes and between their attitudes and their behavior. Any form of inconsistency is uncomfortable, and individual will therefore attempt to reduce it. And when there is a dissonance, people will alter or change either the attitude or the behavior, or they will develop a rationalization for discrepancy. So they wanted to alter their attitude or their behavior, or just to resolve this situation. So the question here, how we can resolve or reduce the dissonance by something called moderators or a moderating variable. Okay. First of all, we wanted to know what is the moderating variable. It is a mechanism or a way the individuals use to resolve the uncomfortability situation or dissonance. Okay, there are four main factors help us to modify the relation between attitudes and behavior. Okay, the first one is the importance of elements creating a dissonance. Okay, or the importance of attitude itself. Some attitudes that all we have based on a beliefs, so it is very difficult to change, and it forced us how to behave. So we can say that if attitudes very important for us, so there will be a positive relationship between attitudes and behavior. Again, if the attitudes is stable and force us and we believe on it, so these attitudes will form or feeling, then we will act according to it. Okay. The second factor which help us to modify the relation between attitudes and behavior, the correspondence to behavior. Okay, it means up to what extent there is a match between attitudes and behavior. So if the attitudes corresponding to behavior, so we said here about a positive relationship among attitudes and behavior. Okay, the third one is the accessibility, okay, which is related to memory. The third factor is a social pressure, which is related to and imposed by others, such as friends, families, managers, to do something. So if there is a pressure, we are not behave or act according to our behavior. So this will lead to a cognitive, again, dissonance. Okay. The last factor is our experience. Okay, or a direct experience, which is related to our previous experience with situations. So the most powerful moderators of the attitudes relationship are: first one, the importance of attitudes; the second one, the correspondence to behavior; the third one, accessibility; and the fourth one is social pressure; and the last one is a direct experience with the attitude. Important attitudes reflect our fundamental values, self-interest or identification with individuals or a group of values. These attitudes tend to show a strong relationship to our behavior. Okay, because it is a fundamental values or it is a beliefs. It is very difficult to be changed. Okay. However, discrepancies between attitudes and behavior tend to occur when social pressure to behave in a certain way hold exceptional power. So the social pressure it will lead us for cognitive dissonance, or to behave in another way according to those forced. Okay, as in most organizations, you are more likely to remember attitudes you frequently express, and attitudes that our memories can easily access are more likely to predict our behavior, which is related to the accessibility. The attitude-behavior relationship is also likely to be much stronger if the attitude referred to something which we have direct experience or personal experience with it. Okay. So once we talk about organizational behavior, we have to focus on the attitudes which is related to the job, which is called a job attitude, that related to the performance. Okay, so we have thousands of attitudes, but organizational behavior focuses on a very limited number that form a positive or negative evaluation employees hold about their job or about their work environment. Okay, and here we discuss in this chapter some of those job attitudes, such as job satisfaction, job involvement, and organizational commitment. Also, we have to talk about perceived organizational support and employees engagement. So let's start with the first job attitude and talk about it in more details. what is a job satisfaction? Job satisfaction can be defined as a positive feeling about a person's job or about the work environment resulting from an evaluation of its characteristics. Okay, so when people speak of employee attitude, we usually mean job satisfaction. Positive feeling about a job resulting from an evaluation of its characteristics. So a person, when he have or she have a high job satisfaction, it means that he holds a positive feeling about their work. Okay, while a person with a low satisfaction, it means that he holds a negative feeling about their work. Okay, and here we have to ask a question: is there any relationship between job satisfaction and performance? Okay. قديما كانوا بيحكوا انه طبعا اذا الموظف شعر برضا عالي في العمل يفترض انه يكون البرفورمانس عنده عالي. So high job satisfaction will lead to a high performance, but it is not true. حسب يعني الدراسات الحديثة بيحكي انه مش بالضرورة انه الجوب ساتسفاكشن او الشخص اللي بيشعر بالرضا انه يكون البرفورمانس تبعه عالي. ليه؟ اوكي انا بشعر بالرضا والورك انفايرمنت تمام والجوب تمام والمانجرز والليدرشيب ستايل وكل شيء تمام، لكن انا ما عندي السكيلز الكافية انه تكون البرفورمانس تبعتي عالية. So there is a relationship between job satisfaction and productivity. Okay, not a relationship between job satisfaction and performance. Okay, so in productivity, here we talk about to exert more efforts, not about the quality of the performance. So again, there is a relationship among job satisfaction and productivity, but there is no direct relationship among job satisfaction and performance. Okay. The second job attitude we have to discuss here, the job involvement, and it is a result or an outcome of job satisfaction. So what do we mean by job involvement? It is simply mean up to what extent the employees feel or perceive that their performance is important for his self-worth. Okay, so job involvement, it is the degree to which a person or an employee identify with a job, actively participates in it, and considers performance important to their self-worth. Okay, again, job involvement, it is a perception of the employees or to what extent they feel or perceive that their performance is important for his self-worth. Okay. Job involvement, it is a degree to which people identify psychologically with their job and consider their perceived performance levels important to their self-worth. Employees with high job involvement strongly identify with, really care about the kind of work they do. So we can say that if the employees feel or perceive that their performance is not related or it is not important for their self-worth, he is or she is less involved for his or her job. Okay, and another issue which is related to job attitude is a psychological empowerment. The psychological empowerment, it means the employees feels or believes up to what extent he or she can influence or affect their work environment. So it is employees' belief and the degree to which they affect their work environment or their competencies, the meaningfulness and of their job and their perceived autonomy in their work. Okay, so here we are referred to a psychological empowerment. So it is referred to what the employees believe or what they are perceived if they influence the work environment or not, and it is not an official empowerment. The official empowerment, it means that the organization have specific rules, regulations and policies and specific leadership style. Okay, فإحنا هنا بنتحدث على كيف يعني الموظف نفسه شاعر أو إنه مدرك إنه مؤثر أو عضو فعال داخل المنظمة ويستطيع أن يؤثر فيها وفي أدائها. مجرد شعوره الشخصي ممكن يعني في الحقيقة هو لا يكون هالتأثير العالي. okay. وأكيد طبعا if the psychological empowerment of the employees is high أكيد حيكون في عندي positive behavior. Okay, so psychological empowerment, employees feeling regarding the degree to which they influence their work environment, their competencies and meaningfulness of their job and their perceived autonomy. Okay. Second, or another issue which is related to job attitude, the organizational commitment. What do you mean by organizational commitment? Organizational commitment, it means that the employees is less willing to leave the organization or to be remain or stay within the organization. So it is identifies whether a particular organization and its goals and wishes to remain a member or to be remain within the organization, or the degree to which an employee identifies with a particular organization and its goals and wishes to maintain a membership within the organization. Okay, and if the employees have a high commitment, this will lead to less turnover ratio and less absenteeism, of course, and this will lead to high performance for the organization as a whole. Another job attitude is an organizational commitment. So what do we mean by organizational commitment? Organizational commitment, it means in simple word the less willingness of the employees to leave the organization, or the willingness of the employees to be or to stay or to remain within an organization or to be a member of that organization. Okay, so the degree to which an employee identifies with a particular organization and its goals and wishes to maintain a membership in the organization, it is the organizational commitment. Okay, the employees who are committed will be less likely to engage in work withdrawal even if they are dissatisfied, because they have a sense of organizational loyalty or attachment. Okay. الموظف اللي بيشعر في نوع يعني من الكوميتمنت او الكوميتمنت عنده عالية، بيشعر انه جزء من هذه المنظمة، يعني بدأ فيها منذ ان كانت صغيرة، حتى لو كان في عنده عدم رضا فهو يعني لن يترك أو يعني لن يبحث عن عمل آخر. Okay. فهنا بنقدر نحكي إنه الهاي commitment lead to less turnover ratio and also it will lead to less absenteeism. Okay. Also we have to talk about the main dimensions of commitment. There are three main dimensions of commitment. The first one is the affective commitment. The second one is a continuous commitment, and the last one is a normative commitment. The first one, affective, which is related to a feeling, or what the employees feel, or how the employees feel that they are related to the organization. Okay. While the continuous commitment it is related to the financial issues. لو كان السالري أو البونسز أو البنفتس اللي بتتقدم للموظف جيدة وممتازة حسب وجهة نظره، فبالتالي حيكون في عندي حاجة بسميها اللي هي continuous commitment. And the last one is the normative commitment, which is related to an ethical issues. على سبيل المثال لو يعني وقع الموظف أو شعر بأنه المنظمة وقفت معاه في أزمة معينة مر فيها، فأكيد هو حيشعر بنوع من الكوميتمنت لهذا المنظمة وسيقف يعني معها في أي أزمة ستواجهها. Okay. So again there are three main dimensions for any commitment: affective commitment, and continuous commitment and normative commitment. Okay. Another job attitudes we have to discuss here, perceived organizational support. What do we mean by perceived organizational support? It is a matter how the employees feel about this support. Okay, it is the degree to which employees feel an organizational values their contribution and care about their well-being. Okay, again, it is how the employees feel or how they are perceived that the organization values their contributions or the well-beings. So we can say that the more the organization value employees' contribution or appreciate his or her effort, the more employees perceived of organizational support. And the more employees feel that he or she supported from the organization, the more he or she behave in a positive way. Okay, the last job attitude we will discuss in this chapter, employees engagement. Okay, what do we mean by employees engagement? Here we're talking about a package of evaluation attitudes such as involvement, satisfaction, and enthusiasm. Okay, so employee engagement is an individual involvement with, satisfaction with, and enthusiasm for the work he or she does. To evaluate engagement, we might ask employee whether they have access to resource and opportunities to learn new skills, whether they feel their work is important and meaningful, okay, and whether interaction with coworkers and supervisors are rewarding. Highly engaged employees have a passion for their work and feel a deep connection to their companies, while the disengaged employees have essentially checked out, putting time but not energy or attention into their work. Okay. فاحنا هنا بنحكي في ال employees engagement عن مجموعة من الاتيتيودز اللي هي such as involvement, satisfaction or the enthusiasm. Okay. حسب دراسة بقول لي the two top reasons for engagement that participants give in a recent study. The first reason is having a good manager they enjoy working for, and also feeling appreciated by their supervisor. And here we have a note. There is some distinctiveness among attitudes, but they are overlapping with each other greatly. Okay. صحيح في اختلافات ما بين الجوب attitudes، بمعنى انه الجوب satisfaction is one concept which is differ from job involvement, which is differ from the employees engagement. كل واحدة إلها تعريفها الخاص ومفهومها الخاص فيها، ولكن في عندي نوع من التداخل الشديد ما بينهم، بمعنى there are a matching in a component and the results for each of them. بمعنى انه معظم هذه الجوب attitudes will lead to the same result. لما بنحكي عندي high satisfaction معناته this will increase the productivity. إذا حكينا على الجوب involvement لو كانت عالية معناته برضو حتزيد productivity، حتكون عندي less absenteeism rate, a turnover ratio it will be decreased, and also the employees engagement the same and the perceived organizational support. So they are matching again in the same components and the same results. Okay, so again there is a difference among the job attitudes, but they are overlapping greatly with each other. Okay, after that we wanted to know how we can measure a job satisfaction. There are two ways or two approaches to measuring the job satisfaction. The first one is a global rating. What do we mean by the global rating approach for measuring the job satisfaction? It is a response to one question. It is simply to ask the person or the employee whether he or she satisfied or dissatisfied with this job. Okay, and the respondents or the employees will circle the number from 1 to 5 on the scale from highly satisfied to highly dissatisfied. ببساطة انه حسأل الشخص هل انت راضي عن العمل او غير راضي، وهو حيحكي لي حسب يعني سكيل راضي بشكل كبير جدا بشدة، او بشكل خلينا نقول متوسط او محايد، او يعني غير راضي او غير راضي بشكل كبير. Okay. The second method is the summation of job facets. Okay, it is more sophisticated هذه الطريقة بمعنى أنه بنعطي questionnaire أو checklist or an interview with the employees and we asking about some factors related to the job or the work environment in more details. So it defines a key elements in a job such as type of work, skills needed, supervision, present pay, the promotion opportunity, the culture, relationship with co-workers. So the respondent rate these on a standardized scale, and researchers add the ratings to create an overall job satisfaction score. فهنا طريقة أكثر تفصيلا بتاخد بعين الاعتبار الكثير والكثير من الفاكتورز which is related to the job or to the work environment. Okay. طيب لو سألنا سؤال which is better to use the first approach or the second way for measuring the job satisfaction، خلينا يعني للإجابة على هذا السؤال في الأول نحكي what is the advantages or disadvantages for each of them. The first method اللي هي global rating حكينا انه هو مجرد سؤال بسيط حسأله هل هو راضي او غير راضي عن العمل، فبالتالي العملية تطبيق هذه الطريقة سهلة جدا. So it is very easy to be applied, okay, and it is not time consuming. طيب what is the disadvantages of this method? It doesn't give us a big picture or more details about the causes which is lead to this result or to this performance. Okay, فبالتالي هي مش هتعطيني big picture أو صورة واضحة أو خلينا نقول تفاصيل كاملة عن الأسباب حول لماذا هذا الموظف dissatisfied على سبيل المثال أو لماذا هو غير راضي عن عمله. Okay. وطبعا مهم للمنظمة تعرف إيش هي causes which is related to this dissatisfaction عشان تبدأ تعملها modification أو تعملها changing وتغير هذه الصورة. Okay. طيب on the other side the second method the summation of job facets اللي بتاخد بجوانب عديدة داخل العمل أو بيئة العمل. طبعا it is time consuming لأنه يفترض يكون في عندي sophisticated questionnaire with more details with more questions, but we cannot cover all of the factors or all of the facets which is related to the job or to the work environment. So we can cover some factors and the others is neglect. طيب لو سألنا again which is better to use the first approach or the second approach, we can say that using both of them is the best way. إنه في الأول يطرح على الشخص السؤال whether he is satisfied or dissatisfied, because if he is satisfied اوكي تمام ممكن نعمل له improvement. اما اذا كان dissatisfied حبدأ بوضع اللي هو sophisticated questionnaire or an interview to know what is the main causes related to this dissatisfaction. Okay. Is one of these approach superior? Intuitively summing up response to a number of job factors seems likely to achieve more accurate evaluation of job satisfaction. Okay, and the research however doesn't support the intuition. Both methods can be helpful. The single global rating method isn't very time consuming, ما بتاخد الكثير من الوقت، على الرغم من انها it is accurate. ليش accurate؟ لانه في النهاية الشخص بيقول لي فعليا هل هو راضي او غير راضي، تمام، وشدة الرضا. لكن في الطريقة الثانية حيبدأ يعطيه الفاكتورز، ممكن الفاكتورز هذه ما غطت الامور اللي هو شاعر فيها بعدم الرضا، فبالتالي it is not accurate. While the summation of job facets help manager zero in on a problem and deal with them faster and more accurately. So we can say that the second method, summation of job facets, give us more details about the causes for this problem or for dissatisfaction, and we can deal with it more faster and we can change it or modify it. Okay. Another topic we wanted to talk about it in this lecture: what are the main causes of job satisfaction? The first one is the job condition. What do we mean by the job condition? It is the intrinsic nature of work itself, social interaction with co-workers and supervision, and this is important predictor of job satisfaction. Okay, another cause of job satisfaction is personality. As you know that some people in general have a positive or they are a positive and others negative in nature. Okay, so people who have a positive core self evaluation, it means the people who believe in their inner worth, or the people that he believe that they can do more, or they are more confident, or they are believe in his or her competencies. They are more satisfied with their jobs than the people with negative core self-evaluation. Okay, so why people with negative core self-evaluations always dissatisfied? بشكل عام الشخص الذي يعني لا يشعر بقيمة ما يقوم بعمله، أو أنه يعني لن يستطيع ولن يعني يطور أي شيء في المنظمة، لا يشعر بنوع من الثقة، فهذا سيؤدي بالطبع إلى أنه يكون البرفورمانس تبعه سيء. okay. وبالتالي حيكون عندي اللي هو نوع من dissatisfaction. okay. So what do we mean by the core self-evaluation? It is believing in one's inner worth and basic competencies. okay. فكل شخص ما شعر بأنه يستطيع يستطيع الإنجاز، عنده نوع من الثقة بنفسه، عنده نوع من الثقة بالكفاءات الموجودة فيه، فبالتالي أكيد حيكون في عنده البرفورمانس عالي، وبالتالي حيكون في عنده satisfaction حيكون عالي. okay. Another causes for job satisfaction the pay. okay. بقول لي هان إنه ال pay correlates with job satisfaction and overall happiness for many people, but the effect can be smaller once an individual reaches a standard level of comfortable living. صحيح انه البيمنت او الفاينانشال خلينا نقول compensation بتلعب دور مهم في انه يعني الشخص يشعر بالسعادة او to react in a positive way او يكون في عنده نوع من job satisfaction، ولكن خلينا نقول حسب هرم مازلو انه احيانا اللي هي الحاجات الاساسية هذه اللي هي المالية زي السالري لو أنا حققتها، فبالتالي أنا بطلع على other needs to be satisfied، فبالتالي أنا مش محتاجاها، أنا محتاجة أمور أخرى ممكن تزيد الرضا عندي. okay. So it is one factor which is lead to job satisfaction but with a little خلينا نقول influence. So money does motivate people, but what motivates us is not necessarily the same as what makes us happy. الماني أو البيمنت صحيح إنها مهمة من البيزكس، ولكنها يعني خلينا نقول مش هتوصلني لدرجة الساتسفاكشن العالية. okay. The last causes of job satisfaction is the corporate social responsibility. It means an organization's self-regulated actions to benefit society or its community or the environment beyond what is required by law. So an organization's which is commitment to corporate social responsibility or its self-regulated actions to benefit society or the environment beyond what is required by law increasingly affect the employees' job satisfaction. The employees whose personal values fit with the organization's corporate social responsibility mission are often more satisfied. بمعنى انه الموظفين اللي قيمهم فعليا اتطابقت مع هذه الفكرة او هذه الفاليو اللي هي انه نقدم بعض الخدمات للمجتمع اكيد حيكون highly satisfied. okay. Corporate social responsibility allows workers to serve a higher purpose to or contribute to a mission. People who view their work as a part of a higher purpose often realize a higher job satisfaction. okay. Although there is a link between corporate social responsibility and job satisfaction, not all employees find value in corporate social responsibility. So again, it is related to the employees' values. Therefore, organizations need to address a few issues in order to be most effective. The first one, is that not all projects are equally meaningful for every person's job satisfaction, yet participation for all employees is sometimes expected. The second one is that some organizations require employees to contribute in a prescribed manner, pressuring those employees to go above or beyond in ways that are not natural for them, can burn them out for future corporate social responsibility projects. Okay, so at last we can say that corporate social responsibility measures can seem disconnected from the employee's actual work, providing no increase to job satisfaction, and some corporate social responsibility is a need positive trend of accountability and serving. Corporate social responsibility يعني something good for an organization, such as it is provide a positive press coverage, تعطي صورة جيدة عن المنظمة، جيدة للمنافسة. It is something good, something positive, but it is يعني خلينا نقول providing no increase to job satisfaction. Okay, I think we have to stop here. Inshallah, in second lecture we will continue talking about the outcomes of job satisfaction. Thank you for listening and good luck.